Hello, Saturday night at Comic-Con. How are you guys doing? So I'm assuming if you are here, you are into the Immortal universe. Oh, yeah. Well, I can't, I want to say, like, prepare yourselves. But I guarantee you there's some stuff coming that you can't prepare yourself for. So I'm just warning you, call your friends. So I'm Damian Holbrook from TV Guide Magazine and TV Insider. I am thrilled to be back here with this show, which we introduced to you guys a couple years ago, and you guys embraced it. You were so great, and then the show premiered, and you were even better. The show was so much. The first one that we're going to talk about today is Interview with a Vampire. So I'm super excited because we'll have that, and then we're going to follow that up with the Anne Rice's Mayfair Witches cast and talk about their upcoming season. And these are the first two shows of the Anne Rice's Immortal Universe for AMC, and they've just recently announced, as you all, I'm sure, know, about the third season, or third series, The Talamasca. So from vampires to witches to secret agents who track them, this is a big night for us. So obviously Interview just finale'd its second season, and let's just put that, it's critically acclaimed second season. And if you haven't already seen it, obviously must see. The series has the rare distinction, this is my favorite, we've got stats, because those are always fun. 98% score on Rotten Tomatoes for both its first and second seasons. And it was just renewed for season 3, which, as we know, will follow Sam Reed's Vampire Lestat and his rock band on tour. So today we're going to take a look back at the series' remarkable second season and tease what's ahead for Lestat. So let's bring out the living bodies that we have with us today. First, we have executive producer overseeing the entire Anne Rice Immortal Universe, Mark Johnson. Creator and executive producer, Roland Jones. Lestat de Liancourt, Sam Reed. Miss Claudia Delaney Hales. The vampire Armand Assad Zaman. Composer Daniel Hart. And production designer Mara Leper-Schloop. Oh my goodness. Wow, okay. So, do you guys want to just get it out now? Just do the "we love you"? All right. So before we start, I need to gush a little bit because what you gave us last season was like there's not enough chef kisses in the universe. The performances were next level. The writing, the production design, the scoring, which you know a show is connecting with people when the fans become obsessed with the score. Like when they're paying that close of attention. And also, so it was something beyond just a television experience, and the community that has built up around this show, the fandom, the family amongst the fans, is a staggering testament to the work that you guys are doing. So on behalf of all of them, I say thank you. All right. Now, Mark, the longest time, readers have, they've hoped to see the works of Anne Rice receive some kind of attention, the kind that you're giving him, the kind that you're giving the Vampire and Mayfair Witches. So what has it been like for you to be the architect of this universe that already has so many residents in it?
Oh my gosh, I wish it were I wish I could say that I had that kind of control. I'm at the mercy of talent like this. And so the first thing out of the box was our first season of Interview with a Vampire, and it's extraordinary. I'd love to try and take some credit for it. I don't know that I can. And so that set a standard that's a pantheon, and we're trying to get close to it every time we start a new show or a new episode. And I can't believe our second season, I'll tell you this right now, is better than our first. It's the best thing on television.
Now, for both shows and for the Telemasca going forward, casting is so key. So how do you collaborate with the showrunners and the creatives on each of them to make sure that we get the Sam Reeds, the Delaney's, the Assads, the Alexandria? Like how do you make sure that we get that level?
Well, and once again, it's trusting your creator, our showrunner in this particular case. Rollin was very specific about what he was looking for.
Kate Rode James. She's the casting agent in London. Exquisite taste. End of story.
No, and then our cinematography, our production design, every step of the way, and Rollin was very specific. And what I was trying to do, Anne Rice has given us so many gifts. At the same time, I want to make sure that this is Rollin Jones' version of Anne Rice's Interview with the Vampire, and that's what we protected.
All right, Rollin. Rollin's like,
Okay, all right.
He's very modest.
How does that feel hearing that?
Annoying and alarming and all that kind of stuff. It's Anne. Nobody would be here without Anne. She wrote. She was way ahead of everybody, and we're still catching up.
So you previously, we all know that you've looked at this adaptation of Interview with the Vampire as not really 2 seasons of television, but 15 parts. Yeah. So how did you decide, like, kind of what to take, what to keep, what to kind of maybe do later, and will you do the same approach with Lestat?
Second part first. Yes, we had the advantage, probably over the movie, of having all the books.
Right.
And they inform each other, and they set a sort of an arc and a trajectory. The first book was clearly about Louis, and almost all the decisions were made to deliver on, showing that character in every light and every dimension, and in such a full, excitable way, and that it would be impossible for us to do the show going forward without him. After that, it was very simple. It's like it's a two-hander play that becomes a three-hander play. There's an old guy, and then there's a really old guy sitting down trying to figure out why the hell they're in the same room together, and why, and everything sort of just went from there. The other thing was, so much of the beauty of Anne's writing is in the prose, and that's sometimes difficult to put into actors' mouths and to make that dramatic for serialized television. So we made a decision early on to try to embrace that prose and create events that we were able to use as much of Anne's writing and put into actors who had the facility for language to make it sound like everyday speech. And those were sort of the building blocks about how to do it.
Okay. I asked for some fan questions, and I think I crashed a server somewhere. You people are very detailed. By the end of the show, so Maurice wrote in, by the end of the show, whenever that may be, do you think it's important that viewers have a generally objective understanding of the events that have occurred, or do you prefer so much being open to interpretation?
What piece of art, what book, what movie do you experience the same way when you're 20, or when you're 30, or when you're 60? Hopefully we made something that you could revisit over and over again and feel differently about it every single time, that we've made some sort of mirror to reflect on the viewer. And so, yeah, I don't know. No, I guess is the question. It should be subjective, and aggressively so,
Right. Okay.
going forward.
Speaking of a piece of art, Sam Reed. It makes him so uncomfortable, you gotta do it.
Really does. Really
But
does.
my God, sir, you fed us last year. Jesus. The season 2 finale, brought Louis and Lestat back together, back to New Orleans, where it all began for them. And I'm not gonna ask, because we all know, I'm not gonna ask what you two said to each other in the scene. But I do wanna know, what did you two say to each other after you saw the scene?
Oh, well, I don't know, I speak to Jacob all the time, so I don't really know. Well, after we saw that scene, you mean, I think we were both a little bit embarrassed, actually. I think we were a bit sort of shocked that it was so emotional. And you know, we're very proud of it, but you know, like it was like, whoa, fuck, is that too much? Is that in fact, I actually, in ADR, like that bit when I'm like, did you hurt yourself? I actually asked to like, can we redo this? Because I sound ridiculous. I want to redo it. And Roland, you know, this is the thing with Roland is like, he's like, no, there's no way. This is staying in the show. And so you see these characters in an incredibly vulnerable way, in a way that you've never seen them in the show. And I think actually it's kind of, yeah, I'm proud to be in something that is sort of so exposing and vulnerable in a way. So I think at the end of the day, we're proud of it.
Yeah.
We're really proud of it. Yeah.
All right, it was stunning. That sequence was just unbelievable. Delaney, I have never seen, yeah. Delaney Hale, our tragic little Moppet, our tragic little girl. I have never seen a fandom embrace a recast so readily, so rapidly, and so lovingly. The audience fell in love with this, Claudia, so much so that we almost pre-mourned what was coming, which is super difficult to watch. She's such a complicated character and such a young character, but so many levels that you brought. Now that you've seen the season, do you get it? Do you understand why we were all so invested in Claudia?
Yeah, I mean, I got it in season 1 as well. I loved season 1. I thought it was amazing, and then I was like, oh my God, I'm going to be a part of this. But yeah, I love Claudia with all my heart, and she can do no wrong ever.
What did you think when you saw that you know, that Lestat was the last person she looked at?
I battled with it in my mind a bit because I was trying to understand whether it was hatred or, you know, like her needing his help in a way. And when we did the scene a couple of times over, we kind of like navigated different takes. So it was experimenting, and then yeah, I realized that she was in so much pain that it is, you know, her looking to a dad for help, and yeah, it's very sad, but that's what it is.
And now Assad. The fact that they are responding to you after what you did, and you know what you did. The performances you brought, like, the amount of work that had to go into playing the deception that was masking, you know, the love, and also that fear of, you know, the man is old enough to have understood, like, this was not going to stand, right? I mean, he's been through it.
Yeah. Good afternoon. Yeah, but I think you can, I don't know, for me, I was like, you can try and have all of those things in your mind and kill yourself with anxiety from it, or you can play one thing at a time. And I think we have a lot of things in our bodies as human beings. We are a lot of things, but we don't play everything at the same time. We pick and choose, or one thing controls another thing. So I don't know. I think that's how I did it.
All right. How was it for you watching the show and seeing like the fan reaction online and whatnot, if you follow that, and knowing like they're like starting to like me? Just wait until the text messages start coming in.
That's exactly how I was reacting to it.
And how fun was it for you to finally get like some work with Sam in that scene in the finale, where you guys kind of, you know, it was like torn between two lovers kind of stuff?
But in the finale,
The kissing in the tower.
Magnus scene.
Magnus in the tower.
Oh, yes. Oh, I love, yeah.
We just did a lot of eye acting.
Yeah, there was a lot of... Also, I remember it was freezing cold in there. Do you remember? It was like...
I don't remember that. No.
Maybe it's because I didn't say anything, so I'm like standing in the background. I felt like Rashid again, watching...
It was freezing.
Yeah, watching Louis and Lestat do their thing.
But I think that actually that scene, we talked a lot about it, that kind of like the most interesting thing about that scene is what's going on between Lestat and Armand, because they both know what's going on.
Yeah, yeah.
And so there's so much unspoken stuff
Yeah.
between the two of them. That was kind of the most fun layer to play in that.
Yeah, and there's the moment when you say Akasha and you look at and he doesn't know that. I was like, all of those things are like as an actor, okay, there's curiosity to play with here, but then also as a spectator and knowing where we're going, it was like I was thinking ahead to coming out and going, this is such a nice little sprinkling for the audience. This is like tingles. Yeah. You delivered it very well, Sam.
Delaney and Assad. Anne wrote in, what was it like working together to portray the complicated dynamic between Armand and Claudia? Did you guys recognize any parallels between both your characters, and did that inform either of your performances? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think the fact that they were turned so young and like Armand knowing that and still treating Claudia the way that he did is very interesting to me. I'm the leader of his hate page. So there's that.
There's like, I think Armand ultimately, after what he did, he still did, I think there's a lot of respect there for who Claudia was. And there was. I mean, people show respect in lots of weird ways. Sometimes by killing the person that they respect. Or orchestrating their death. But like, you know, there's also the, you know, you were Lestat's fledgling, and he has complicated feelings towards that as well. So I think, yeah, he was never gonna love Claudia.
So I think I spoke to you after the finale. Do you think he felt any guilt for what happened with Claudia?
Yes. Yeah. I think he feels guilt for a lot of things. I just think he can't face himself. Like he doesn't know how to take responsibility for those things. But yeah, I think he feels guilt.
Have you seen somebody also they sent in a last minute thing? Have you seen these videos of people going to the Louvre to go see the Armand painting?
I saw one. My sister sent me one. My sister sent me a photo of some people at the Louvre, and they took pictures in front of.
But it's not in the Louvre, is it?
It's in the same room as the Mona Lisa.
Oh wow!
We might soon overtake Mona Lisa. I think someone needs to tell them to start a queue or something.
We didn't film that. We filmed that somewhere else. We filmed like Chantilly or something.
Yeah, we filmed it somewhere else. But
Sam, that's the magic of what I do.
There you go.
Where is it?
We recreated the Louvre somewhere.
It's in the art. It's
Surprise.
in the collection.
So that painting came from the Louvre to Chantilly.
No,
so we hired that painting from the Louvre.
It was a recreation.
Sorry, what am I not getting this?
Remember, he was underground for a long time. Daniel, the music. Daniel. Yeah. So the music obviously is incredible. It heightens. It truly does. Like it controls emotions at times. Where you're like watching, there have been moments in the show where I'm watching, and I'm like, wait, what am I feeling? What am I feeling? And it's like these violins are happening. What can you tell us about your creative process in tackling like the really heightened emotioned ones?
Roland and I start early. We start before anything's been shot. We start maybe even before scripts. We're chatting. We're talking about your ambitions, the music that you're listening to, and then I start listening to that music. And then we talk more. And then you ask me to write 20 pieces of music before ever seeing a script, and then I guess at what they are supposed to be. and then you tell me what they could be, and then I write more music.
You have a shit job, man.
But the meat of the work is done once I'm looking at episodes and seeing what's happening on screen, seeing what these three and the other actors are doing, what the production design looks like, how lines are being delivered, how fast the camera is moving, the lighting, the timbre of people's voices. All that kind of stuff affects the choices that I'm making, and some of it's intentional, like if it's a scene with Armand, I'm trying to not put any like violas or bassoons or things like that in the forefront, things that it would be like at the same timbre of your voice. So we'll keep those in the back, let your voice take up that space. But then the other things are more subconscious, like I'm just watching what's happening on screen and it's making me feel things. It's making me very emotional myself, and so I try to pour what I'm feeling into that music to do justice to what's already happening on screen. Sometimes to highlight, sometimes to just provide a little bed underneath, and most of the time in some kind of dialogue with everyone and everything that you're seeing.
When the stuff comes in, this moment in post, right, where we've been sitting there with temp music over and over again, and everybody's been looking at the same footage, blah, 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 and then a Daniel Hart thing drops in, all the other, Yuka, you can attest to this. Where's Yuka? Yuka, where are you?
Who?
Is Yuka in here? Whatever, she's one of our, oh, yeah, right? When a Daniel Hart piece comes, everyone stops, comes and sees the scene and listens to it, and everybody feels like, we're on a fucking great show. All right, wait, I'm gonna go back to our work.
Well, Daniel, how would you describe, like, did you create in your mind or even like on a deck tones or styles for each of the characters? Like their own hype music kind of thing?
Yeah, if it's possible, they'll get an instrument for themselves that is their instrument, maybe per season, if possible, and maybe it's just per episode, depending on the other needs of what's happening on screen, and everybody gets their themes, their melodic themes, which weave in and out throughout seasons and episodes. Yeah, I tried to do as much character work as possible. I, like Rollin, came from the playwriting world. That's what I studied in school, and I think about those kinds of things all the time. I'm thinking about character arcs and motivations, and that's how I approach this kind of work. So yeah, I'm always thinking about the characters.
All right. Okay, and Mara LaPere-Schloop, our designer. I mean, you guys, could the show look any better? Like, it is, like Mayfair has its own vibe, and I'm so into that like modern New Orleans thing because it's like sweaty and hot. But what you have created both for New Orleans, of the first season and Paris for the second season, this was just, I mean, you are building a whole world up from the ground up. And then the theater. The theater.
Come on.
I mean, where do you start? Where do you start, like, say, season 2? We're doing Paris, we're filming in Prague. How do we make this happen?
A lot of sleepless nights. When I first signed on season 1, the 2 seasons were one, so we were going to do the whole thing. And what I was most excited about was the theater. And then a few months later, we decided to split it into 2 seasons, and I was like, oh no, there goes the theater. And obviously, what we got to do in season 1 was absolutely incredible. And as someone that lives in New Orleans, it was an absolute joy to be able to represent a time period, the Jazz Age, Storyville, which hasn't really been seen on film and doesn't exist in New Orleans anymore. And Rollin has done such an incredible job of adapting this to time periods that are so magical and that we really haven't seen represented. And so in season 2, we got to kick things off with, Eastern Europe in World War II, which typically we see a lot of Western Europe, but it was great to be able to see another side of the war. And then we launch into post-war Paris, which is just an incredible time period with the energy of rebirth post-war, but also this kind of like, rations were going on for several years after the war. So it's this brightness, it's this energy, but there's also this like anchor from the war that's pulling things down. And so realizing those things was a challenge, but a really exciting one. And doing it, we jokingly referred to shooting Prague as Paris as Praris. And we were lucky enough to have a few days to actually shoot in Paris, which was magical. And apparently we completely tricked Sam into thinking he was in strange places. But magic. No, it was a real gift.
Thank God
Rollins
he's
explaining what
got
we
it,
did.
got it. Got it. So you're not seeing the real one in the movie. Right. I mean, you're seeing it, but yeah.
But your theater, you got to do 2 of them.
The theater, right. So, sorry, long-winded answer. I didn't even get to the question. So the theater, we started out in 1795 with the Renowned Theater when Assad, or I should say, I'm sorry, Armand and Lestat kicked things off with the Theater de Vampires. And what Rollin and I decided was that it'd be great to kind of bring some new energy with our adaptation to things. And so we had them, towards the turn of the 20th century, move into this new kind of industrial space. And it's this hybrid of, sacrilegious artifacts and, the little bit of Gothic or neo-Gothic imagery, and then our theater. And it was such an exciting exercise. We took this old factory on the outskirts of Prague, and we built our stage and our sets. And we actually put in a superstructure and columns and a grid so that people could fly around and not die, which is a good thing. And then we started the season without all of the scripts, so we didn't know what was going to happen in episode 8. We knew someone was going to come and kick some ass in the theater, but we didn't know what was going to be destroyed. So we actually put cement board underneath everything that we built, assuming that the whole thing was just going to burn down, which there was a lot of fire. But I think Rollin and I were talking before this about our favorite sets of the show, and the green room, the area under the stage where all the Coven members were. It was such a fun set to get to work on. Rollin and the writers graciously wrote bios for each of our vampires, and we got to know their histories and when they returned, who they were before, and we got to develop what those spaces were. And it's a dream job. It's magical and wonderful, and the team is incredible, and yeah, it's really great.
Nice. So we've been talking a lot about some serious stuff and the deception, the production. But with this world that they've built and these beautiful sets and these sounds and everything, not everything always goes to plan. And we have a reel for you guys to watch our favorite vampires things up. So obviously we know season 3 will be Rockstar Lestat. And our time is running short because I've got to get to the next show in the universe. But Rollin, why don't you just set it up?
Anne Rice's Daniel Hart's The Vampire Lestat is what's coming.
And what kind of singer is this guy going to be?
Well, I guess we've been talking some stuff back and forth, me and Daniel, about what Lestat is going to sound like. And the basic thing that we should know is that, in the books, it's sort of a bookend. There's one concert. Mm-hmm. But we don't do things like that on our show, so it's going to be a full tour across North America. And I don't know, David Bowie,
St. Vincent,
Bjork,
T-Rex,
Freddie Mercury,
Beastie Boys,
Franz Liszt,
Shostakovich,
Douglas Dare, Red Cross, Lang Lang, Iggy Pop, St. Vincent, Prince, Florence Welch, Jim Morrison, Tim Wick, Gustav Mahler, Brendan Flowers, Fiona Apple, Serge Gainsbourg, Electric Light Orchestra, The Sweet, Nick Cave, Raleigh Ritchie, Benjamin Clementine, Chapel Rowan, Gustav Dudamel, David Lee Roth, Ryan Kander, John Cale, Jeff Magna, Paul Westerberg, Martha Argerich, and Daniel Hart. It's going to be something like that.
And since we can't do audience questions today, you have something else better for that.
Oh, they don't want to see a teaser. They're not interested. Oh, okay. Well, Dan, what you can do with a certain amount of money in the city of Pacoima. Here we go. A sneak of a lot of stuff from a potential soon-to-be season 3 of Interview with a Vampire.